hits are going to be, right?
You know, and that's why it's all organic. Like what the heck flex is organic? Like you can't try to make up stuff. You have to be organic in
Right.
broadcasting. I sure hope Ass Crack and Ballsack catches on
Right. Be there in the moment.
every day. I should be on a breakfast cereal logo,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right? Did you get a bowl of your everydays?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
As a matter of fact, I did every day. All right, let's do this thing. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It's Jonathan Taylor's world, and we are just living in it. My God, Colts 41, Bills 15, problemas, Buffalo. And with Indianapolis, it was Jonathan Taylor, not one, not two. I sound like LeBron counting championships with the Heat. Not one, not two, not three, not four. It was 5 touchdowns scored from Jonathan Taylor, 4 on the ground. This is a 60-point day in PPR leagues, 185 yards, averaging 5.8. They just couldn't stop him. And there was a 40-yard run in there. Like they couldn't. Usually when you say 185, Bloom, there's like a 70, 80 yarder in there. No, it was 185 yards. Oh my God, it was a receiving touchdown. So that means there wasn't much there for Michael Pittman, wasn't much there for T.Y. Hilton, wasn't much there for Jack Doyle, because it was all about Jonathan Taylor. No matter what Buffalo did, they could not stop him. I think I said it in the preview show, Bloom. It's a joy to watch this guy play.
Oh, Cecil. I mean, this is your signature performance. We're leading off week 11 with the entree, not the appetizer. And Cecil, maybe when we look back at fantasy football in 2021, it'll just be like this. Did you draft Jonathan Taylor?
Right.
That's it. Just did you draft Jonathan Taylor? He's in that kind of rarefied air. Cecil, I'm going to name a name LaDainian Tomlinson. Mm-hmm. The only other player to do 8 straight 100-plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown.
And a rushing touchdown is LaDainian. Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of, and those of you who had LaDainian back in that time, yeah, that's the kind of run that those Colts those teams with this Colt on their fantasy team. And see, it almost is like you want to, if you're the Colts, I mean, can we put him in bubble wrap? Can we put him on ice, just get into the playoffs and unleash this on opponents? He demoralized them. It's very, very much like the spirit of Derrick Henry now has merged with the spirit of Jonathan Taylor, and he's just demoralizing. Now, they also capitalize on some errors in this one. Momentum, right? Just the game kept going in this way. Isaiah McKenzie fumbles a kickoff. Josh Allen, and this, of course, all starts to make Josh Allen press. We'll talk about the Bills. And the Colts just demoralized them, humiliated them in their own building, and they still have their bye left, by the way. So this is a team that has had how many games get away from them? They're the opposite of the Ravens, right? The Ravens always win those games, the Colts always lose those games, but it doesn't matter if you're this much better than the Bills in Buffalo. Now, for fantasy, we're looking at Wentz, we're looking at Pittman, and you're thinking, what do you have here if it's the Jonathan Taylor offense? But next week, it's the Tony Dungy Bowl. The Bucs are coming to Indy. So that's a defense that I think will force them to throw more. So we'll see where it balances out for fantasy. But we did see Antonio Gibson start to wear down that Tampa run defense last week. Yeah, that's your signature team. That's your signature player. And see, in the crabs in a bucket AFC. I know the standings don't show the Colts atop right now. But if they were going to start the playoffs tomorrow, I'd probably pick the Colts to go to the Super Bowl.
Let's talk about the Buffaloes and those problemas and Josh Allen pressing. Couple of touchdowns, couple of INTs, 209 yards passing. I mean, Matt Breida led the way on the ground, 51 yards. Not much for Moss or Singletary in this one. Dawson Knox gets you 6 for 80 at least. Gabriel Davis, 2 for 27. Gundui for 3 for 26. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 23 in this one. And both of those passing touchdowns. Cole Beasley, 4 for 23. So Buffalo got in trouble, and anything they did, Bloom, it was basically late.
Yeah.
Like you're moving the ball. They had 8 points in the fourth quarter. They'd have a touchdown in the second quarter. The Diggs one, of course, but a little bit garbage time. But even in garbage time, they couldn't stop Taylor, and then they couldn't do anything when they got the ball.
Yeah, that was the thing. Allen was pressing, making mistakes. He had another pick. George Odom picked him, almost picked him again, but Stephon Diggs kind of committed some pass interference on the way. And yeah, Diggs got a garbage time touchdown to help. Yeah, that second touchdown, he had the only touchdown when the game was kind of close. And you saw Dawson Knox, he's the struggle target. So, of course, Dawson Knox had a decent game, but not because the offense was humming. You didn't see much then otherwise. Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders. If it's not a good day for Josh Allen, there's not enough there for them. And the other thing to take away here is Matt Breida not going away, making some plays, showing that burst. Now Buffalo, a team that I think going into this week, yeah, they lost to Jacksonville, okay, but otherwise they held their own. Now they're asking themselves questions as they come down here to New Orleans for Thanksgiving night. Another team asking themselves some questions, a lot more questions than answers. But Jonathan Taylor was the answer today.
The answer for your fantasy team, certainly, and the answer was Washington 27 and Carolina 21. Now, that was some fun football to watch this morning. Let's start with the Washington side, as they are now 4-6, and Carolina is 5-6. Taylor Heineke, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, 206 yards on the day. Terry McLaurin, 5 for 103 and a touch, of course. It was DeAndre Carter and Cam Sims, who nobody started, had the other 2 touchdowns. Adam Humphries, 2 for 30. John Bates, they're down to John Bates, 3 for 23. Although very important, what was that, a fourth down throw? Big catch from John Bates as this game was going down on the wire. Antonio Gibson, 19 for 95. It's enough. So let's talk about Washington. It was enough to put Ron Rivera over the top in the Cam Bowl.
Yeah, and what's weird here, Cease, this is a weird year. We already used up weird week 9. How about wild week 11? These two teams are only half game apart right now. And you saw the Panthers, Cam Newton, hey, we got a defense, we can maybe make a run. And the thing is, yeah, Cease, we can make a list of, 8 or 10 teams. Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. But otherwise, it's an interesting year for teams staying alive, hanging around, and we're seeing emotion and clarity and execution, maybe more important than being clever or having the most talent. Everyone's talent is being depleted by injuries anyway. Right. But Taylor Heineke, a homecoming. Remember, he once started for the Panthers, left the game with a concussion, so it's not the only homecoming here. And Taylor Heineke played out of his mind in this one. Tremendous against the blitz again, and making, as the kids say, dimes, throwing the dimes on the money. They see you like that? Dimes on the money. You saw Antonio Gibson in this one fumble, and it looked like maybe he was being benched for the fumble. Remember, he's had some fumble problems in the past, but then he comes back in and has a strong second half. Terry McLaurin making plays downfield. And again, if Taylor Heineke is making good passes, good decisions, then Terry McLaurin can make the plays on the other end of those catches. DeAndre Carter had a nice kickoff return to kick off a drive and then ended it with a touchdown. Cam Sims caught a touchdown. So lots of guys pitching in here with not much coming from the tight end. You mentioned John Bates. And this season's not over. They play Seattle. Well, maybe that's a team that season is over.
Yeah, maybe so. Carolina rejuvenated with Cam Newton. You see the respect afterwards. Ron Rivera and Cam going over there with the drive-by hug, if you will. Christian McCaffrey, 10 for 59 on the ground, then 7 for 60 and a touchdown as a receiver. That receiving touchdown, Cam put on the money in stride. Difficult throw, great throw. DJ Moore, 5 for 50 and a touch. Robbie Anderson, 5 for 30. Whatever. Tommy Tremble did a little bit. So did Ian Thomas, I guess. They don't use their tight ends. Of course, Cam Newton ran the ball. 10 for 46 on the ground and a rushing touchdown to go with his 2 passing touchdowns and a decent fantasy day if you picked him up and started him.
So really, this has turned out pretty well for the Panthers, to the Cam Newton pickup. He looked good. He looked good on the hoof as a runner. He did not look like a shadow of his past. Like you said, Cece, he made some good passes. He revitalizes the stock of DJ Moore. He knows how to throw to Christian McCaffrey. Robbie Anderson has a pulse. This offense has a pulse. Again, it was the defense really that let the Panthers down in this one that should have been a win. But Newton helping this offense work, but in the fourth quarter, coming up short on a Christian McCaffrey reception on a 4th down, on another 4th down, he gets sacked. The season's not over, although this is a disappointing loss. Now, they lose to Miami next week. Then we're really starting to watch the season swirl down the drain. So it's a test, but I think we could see Newton get better. Remember, he's been away from football. So we could see him get better. If this is how he is, just knocking off the rust, then we have some good games to look forward to in the second half.
Good games to look forward to in the second half. Well, maybe not this one because of Lamar Jackson's illness. So let's talk about it, Bloom. It is Baltimore and it is Chicago, and the Ravens come back 16-13. And I'm going to put this out there, Bloom, and not for this game necessarily, but there was a pass interference call late in this game with Chicago leading that allowed Tyler Huntley, not Lamar Jackson, to continue the drive. And because this is wild and woolly, right? It's Week, wild and woolly, week 9, week 11. Oh my God, craziness. Not that play specifically, and I honestly don't have a lot of time to get into it. I wish I did. Going to pick up my daughter from the airport, everyone, just so everybody knows. There will be one day when, like in the NBA, when they had the bad refs come out, and they're like, hey, there were like officials on the cut. There was officials. The Vegas influence is felt this year. And if you want to comment quickly on that, Bloom, I would appreciate that. And I think we could do a whole show on it, honestly, because there's certain plays, there's certain moments, the Steelers and the Bears, right?
Right.
Why is it always got to include the Bears? But like, there's certain times where if you're wired that way, you can be like, wonder what Vegas is doing. We've had 2-point conversions that weren't gone for, because, oh man, if you don't go for it and then the other team picks it up and they score and okay, that's fine. But I think there's a Vegas influence that one day, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, they'll be like, in 2021, that one ref was dirty, or these two refs were dirty, or this player was dirty. It's going to happen. Again, not this Baltimore game. Ravens fans already don't like me. I'm not saying this about this Ravens game. I'll blame the Steelers or whatever you want me to do. But, like, there's certain times, and I'm watching this game, I'm like, Chicago's going to, they're going to do it. I know it's Tyler Huntley, whatever. But I'm like, Chicago's going to do it. And then some, sorry, did we get demonetized? I got to look on that. But either way, Bloom, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. See, so I'll just say this. With all of the props and all of the different lines and over-unders and live betting, there are just so many ways to exploit this. Because the thing is, you're right. When you're watching a game, you feel like, disturbance in the force, that maybe that play shouldn't have gone that way. And we like to think of it in terms of outcome of the game or even just the point spread.
And it's never been this crazy.
Right.
Never.
No, it's true. It's true.
Something happened, and it's Vegas.
So certainly, or the 17. I'm telling you, we lost that square number. We went to a prime number. I think that we're messing with the symmetry of the universe. Either way, I think if they're clever about it, Cease, they're making money on the props. They're making money on some live betting. They're making money on like second half spreads and things like that. So you can come away like a baron. A robber baron with all this money, like use the NFL to print money basically, but not in the obvious way, right?
Yeah, right.
Not by point shaving or a ref rigging a game for the outcome of the game, but in ways that people would never notice.
Yes. All right. Baltimore side, and it's just interesting. We'll put a pin in it. Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson, illness, non-coof. Devontae Freeman gets a rushing touchdown, 49 yards. Mandrew gets 8 for 73. Sammy Watkins, 3 for 48, including a big one late in this game. And, it was Tyler Huntley out there and doing some good things, again, against Chicago. But still, with Huntley in, people thought maybe disaster. It wasn't a great game, but Huntley got the win.
And this Ravens team just finds a way to win. There's now, how many games have they been below 15% win probability? And won. And this is another one, even without Lamar Jackson. It's kind of what you expected. This wasn't going to be an offensive fireworks game. Huntley moving the offense somewhat efficiently, but stalling out. But Mark Andrews making some plays. And then they almost didn't make it hold up. Look, the Ravens, they didn't really control the game, but you felt like it was the Ravens game until Andy Dalton, spoiler alerting here, Cease. 4th and 11, a long touchdown. Andy Dalton had 2 long touchdowns. One was a 4th and 11. I know Bills fans are going to smile when they hear about Andy Dalton converting a big 4th down. Then you have this wide receiver screen to Darnell Mooney for a 60-yard touchdown. Really, we can do everything at once. They should have stuck with David Montgomery. Really, where the Bears went wrong. Justin Fields got hurt. And we say, wait, Andy Dalton. What about Justin Fields? Left with a rib injury. And apparently, they don't know if it was an accumulation of punishment or something suffered on one hit. But they're going to turn around and play on Thanksgiving against Detroit. So I don't think we're going to see Justin Fields. I think we're going to see more of Andy Dalton. So the Bears really, it was 2 breakdowns by the Ravens defense, and it looked like they were going to be able to win on that. And then Tyler Huntley puts together this furious drive, a long ball to Sammy Watkins on a busted coverage. Devontae Freeman, who really is the guy now in this backfield. Latavius Murray got some touches, but Freeman caught 6 balls in this one too. So Baltimore, see, we can envision this Baltimore team. What are they now? 7-3. I mean, they could be 3-7. They could blink an eye. They could have lost this one, but they won, and they're going to face the original Cardiac Kids, the Cleveland Browns, next week. So I have no idea. See, so I'm going to stop trying to predict what's going to happen in these games.
Yeah, let's move forward from the next game, and well, Detroit and Cleveland. Oh, by the way, did you want to say anything about Mooney? And
just he's the man. I mean, yeah, 16 targets in the game.
And that deep speed, it was great.
Right, without Allen Robinson. Again, it was just a wide receiver screen. It was an innocuous little wide receiver screen, and then Darnell Mooney was gone. And that was it. I mean, that was really, saw Tyus Bauer play a big role for the Baltimore defense. Again, we get to watch Andy Dalton against Tim Boyle on Thanksgiving. No, go pick up some extra liquor for the night or something.
Something like that. So let's move forward. And good thing we got some stinkers, Bloom.
Yeah.
So stinker in Detroit and Cleveland. Let's do this one at the same time as well. 13-10, the final score. And when it's Tim Boyle versus Baker Mayfield, and he's not really Baker Mayfield, he's like kind of a shadow of Baker Mayfield, at least Nick Chubb came through for you. And DeAndre Swift, I got to give DeAndre Swift the Keanu kiss, because that, and especially the breakaway touchdown, but just overall, I mean, my God, thank you, DeAndre and Nick Chubb, for making this game less boring.
Yeah, and the Lions made it less boring because they hung around in this one. DeAndre Swift with the breakaway 57-yard touchdown. There was also a bad Baker Mayfield decision that set up a field goal, and that was the Lions' offense. Tim Boyle, bless his heart, did throw the ball a lot to T.J. Hawkinson. Hawkinson comes off the goose egg, gets like 6 for 51 in this one. So you got that. There was also a bad miscommunication interception right away. He looked frustrated. Again, we get to watch this Detroit team on Thanksgiving. Hooray. You saw Jarvis Landry get a Wildcat touchdown, direct snap, but you also saw him get hurt in this one. Mayfield, at the very least, knew how to hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, and that was really why they won the game. He also caught a touchdown. But Mayfield just doesn't look good. And Cease, I think that every week, it becomes a more interesting question of whether the Browns are going to sign Mayfield to a long-term extension after this year. What happens? But they're surviving. Cease, this is a game, this is a week that we say, if you won, you just breathe a sigh of relief. And that's kind of what the NFL has become. Like, did you survive this week? Yes, it was Detroit, but hey, the Browns can say more than the Steelers can. And again, that Cleveland-Baltimore showdown coming up.
Cleveland-Baltimore showdown coming up, but how about a hot 49ers?
Yeah.
Jaguars?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it hot? Again, apologies, but we could do this one all at the same time.
Sure.
Mainly the 49ers side is the interesting side, because Deebo Samuel was the leading rusher, and then Jeff Wilson was behind him. And then here comes Trey Sermon, and then Brandon Ayuk back, and then George Kittle. Touchdowns abound for Kittle, and that was they consider that a shovel pass, right? On hit, or I thought he were.
Yeah, it was. It was a pass.
Yeah, a little pass there. Trey Sermon also get a catch there. Debo gets 1 for 15 as a receiver. So the interesting thing about this 30-10 win for the 49ers isn't really Jacksonville, although James Robinson scored a touchdown. Marvin Jones Jr. got your 4 for 52. Laviska, who you've already given up on, and you queued the Chuck Dion, 5 for 50. Jamal Agnew didn't do much of anything, but like, it's San Francisco, and just like, we're going to get it done, however, it's Jacksonville. They treated the Jaguars like the Bills should have.
Right, that's the thing. Is it impressive now to beat a bad team handily? It is. And San Francisco sees fantasy football. I said this today with Chris when we did Chris Allen on the starts and sits. Just like in fantasy football, I think we're going to see a mirror thing here this year, Cease, and it's going to be this way in fantasy too. The team that is hot in the NFL come week 15, 16, 17, and maybe I guess in fantasy too. It doesn't matter if you were the best team all year. Well, there's not really going to be a best team all year. It's just what team gets hot. And a lot of getting hot is finding your identity and finding your comfort zone. And I think San Francisco has found that. At least you see it against inferior defenses. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he's just distributing the ball well. He converted a 3rd and 12 early. He did miss Jeff Wilson, who was wide open in the end zone. So if Wilson got that touchdown, 15-point day in PPR leagues, you're fine. He got the volume. He's the lead role in an offense that's playing well. So it's going to seem like a disappointment, but not as much. Sermon also caught a ball here and got 10 carries. We'll see when Elijah Mitchell's ready to play. But it's still Wilson's backfield, so he might be a little undervalued if Jimmy Garoppolo had just hit that pass. But otherwise, and by the way, that led to Kyle Shanahan settling for a field goal on a 20-play drive to open the game. And they won. So, you want the football gods to kind of like a bird fly over Kyle Shanahan and take a poop on his head for that. But they didn't. Jacksonville doesn't really have that in them.
No.
Brandon Ayuk was excellent in this game. So Deebo Samuel getting done as a runner. So Ayuk gets all the love as a receiver. It was just too easy. And San Francisco gets the Vikings 49ers next week. Very interesting game. As what do we see from the Jacksonville side? A garbage time touchdown from James Robinson. Jamal Agnew gets hurt. Laviska Shenault has a fumble. Catches about 5 passes. Oh, by the way, Jacksonville, Atlanta next week. They should pay people. See, so if you go to that game, you should get like free beer for the entire game or something.
Or a tax break or something. I don't know.
Right.
They do it for corporations. Anyway, don't get me started on that. Hey, look, everybody. It's my sister, Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
I know.
Yeah, there you
Vic
go.
Fangio.
Carrie.
Everybody loves the Vic Fangio impression so much, Cease, that
They love the impression more than him.
Yeah.
Because he's garbage head coach, and then everyone's just like, give him an impression every day.
It's always a Broncos show, even when the Broncos are on bye.
Yes, and it means that I had a good day today because I didn't have to watch the lousy Denver Broncos. You had to watch the greatest game of the day.
Yeah.
Honestly, the greatest game of the day. This one was fantastic. It is Green Bay, and it is Minnesota, and 34-31 Minnesota gets the win. And with Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdowns. And there's a few things to parse through here. One, seeing Equanimeous St. Brown do something.
Yeah.
That was amazing. MVS with that speed, although maybe his final touchdown. You always talk about getting Aaron Rodgers too much time, right? Which happened. What was there, like a minute something left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they gave Aaron Rodgers a minute 40. They're done. MVS scores that big touchdown, and then you gave Kirk Cousins a minute, and then you're done. So this back and forth, incredible matchup here between these two teams. Rodgers was those 4 tutties. Devontae Adams 7 for 115 and 2 to help lead the comeback there. A.J. Dillon 11 for 53. The Randall Cobb option play, right, with Dillon was fantastic. It was great. So let's talk about the Packers side. Let's really parse this one through because we've gone through some stinkers, but this one was everything that was cracked up to be. This is what Kansas City and Dallas, we thought that was it's the game of the day. No, this was, and if you watched it, you were entertained.
You were. It had so many swings just in the last few minutes of the game, and great performances by great players. That's another thing, elevating their game, answering each other, including Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a fantastic fantasy play today. Some worry as he comes into the game with his toe issue. And we'll have to run this stuff past Dr. Gene, but after the game, they asked Aaron if it was turf toe, and he said, "This is worse than turf toe. I've had turf toe." He said it was a painful injury. He said got stepped on. He had to get it checked out in the second half. So while he was fantastic, he was vintage Aaron Rodgers in this one. You have to wonder for how long. He's just said, I need to make it to the bye. He's looking ahead to Green Bay's bye coming up next week in 2 weeks after they play the Rams, Aaron Donald and company. But so on one hand, it was a great performance, and if he had had a chance to win at the end, he might have done it. Well, he did, and he threw immediately a 75-yard touchdown pass. So Aaron Rodgers got Aaron Rodgers'd, even though, again, just jumping over to the Viking side for a second, Darnell Savage all but made an interception that could have ended this game.
Right.
And then Cousins threw another one that looked like it should have been picked. It was Rasul Douglas, who was
Cousins playing YOLO ball, man.
Right, and Douglas ran the route better than the Packers receiver. Than Adam Thielen, but the throw by Cousins was so far inside that Douglas didn't even really see it zip past him. A crucial play. So a couple of times on that final drive, the winning drive for the Vikings, Cousins could have blown it. But like you said, you saw, and the Green Bay just had so many mistakes on defense. They had Mason Crosby miss a chip shot, so it was there. It was there for them in this crazy game. But you did see magic. You saw magic from Rodgers on a scramble to Josiah DeGuara for a touchdown. You saw the big pass to Marquez Valdez-Scantling that could have been the play that we were talking about. So we'll see about this toe issue. He's playing great, but he himself is telling us, and maybe it's a little Ben Roethlisberger drama. I want to explain why I might fail in the upcoming weeks, but he seemed like he was being honest, and a big showdown for the team that was the number 1 seed coming into this week. And Cease, I think that it's spread now where everybody's saying, hey, we don't know up from down in the NFL this year. The Rams are slumping right now. You can't say the Packers are slumping because Minnesota, not the first time this year they have played well against a good team, but this time, Cease, they finished it.
They finish him. And it was Kirk Cousins with 341 and 3 touchdowns, no INTs. Justin Jefferson, 8 for 169 and 2 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Adam Thielen, 8 for 82 and a touchdown. And so good that he did this like Julian Edelman type of scoop play, and it was incomplete. But when you first watch it in live time, you're like, of course Thielen got that because he's so damn good. He didn't get that one, but he got 8 for 82 and a touch, so that's good enough. Tyler Conklin, dud, 3 for 35 in this game. Dalvin Cook, never a dud. 86 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, including 3 for 29 as a receiver. So they fought back, they fought hard, they had the lead, they came back. They did it all, again, fighting with Cousins and the... It's interesting to note. I'm doing all this stuff to extend the show when I should be, for brevity's sake, Bloom. My daughter's coming home for Thanksgiving from college, so super excited about that. But anyway, like you look at this team, you go, is Kirk Cousins going to be there next year?
Right.
Well, he's playing YOLO ball, so that maybe he will be.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting about this one, Cease, is toe-to-toe slugging Cousins and Rodgers felt like an even match, right? Which is really saying something for Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
And also Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was fan-freaking-tastic in this game. I mean, he just looks like he's at that point last year where he is peaking as a player and almost impossible to slow down. It's the classic Chris Berman. You cannot stop Justin Jefferson. You can only hope to contain him. If this is what containing him looks like, then wow. It's not quite Jonathan Taylor level, but Justin Jefferson looks fantastic. Green Bay defense, not so much. And this team was riding their defense. Remember, they shut out Russell Wilson, the first team to ever shut out Russell Wilson. Not in this game. No one getting shut out. No one getting shut down. Jefferson, by the way, was down at the 1 on another play, or he could have had another touchdown in this one. You did have, again, mistakes, right? There was an interception Kirk Cousins threw in the end zone, roughing the passer, Kingsley Keke. So it was there for the Packers, even though, again, see, we're talking about a close game between two teams that played well, and the Vikings actually come up on top. Again, getting some breaks. Finally, the Vikings get the breaks. Again, setting up a matchup. See, San Francisco or Minnesota, both among the teams that you could say, hey, they could get hot in January. They've got some good players. If those players rise to the occasion, you never know.
Dolphins and Jets, they rose to the occasion today. I guess not. Hey, here's why I can stretch it out a little bit on other conversations, Bloom, because, well, it's Dolphins, Jets. Do we really want to talk about this? I think the most important thing was Elijah Moore with his breakout, 8 for 141 and 1 touchdown, the 62-yarder. Just such effort also on his touchdown catch. Michael Carter a little bit banged up for the Jets side. Dolphin side is Tua's ripping it downfield to Mac Hollins, who nobody started. Myles Gaskin, is he okay? He got beat up in this one. Yeah. Jalen Waddle with a rushing touchdown. So some stuff to go to. 24-17 final score. Dolphins 4-7, Jets 2-8. And again, some head scratching calls. You see Robert Saleh on the sidelines with his hands on his waist. Like, it was a frustrating day for the Jets. But I love seeing Elijah Moore. I love seeing more of Elijah Moore, Mr. Toe-to-toe, talking about Rodgers.
Yes. And I'll just package this up into one game, one take here. Tua Tagovailoa, a lot of play action passing, looking pretty good. It's predictably okay for fantasy against a bad defense. You did see Myles Gaskin as a lead back. We've come all the way full circle. Remember, right before the season ceased, so he's not going to be a lead back. It's going to be a committee. Back off. Well, he was a lead back in this one, and he had the go-ahead touchdown. You also saw Mac Hollins making a big play, but Mike Gesicki getting his. Jalen Waddle, who got a handoff from Gaskin for a touchdown. So Waddle getting the short catches, but also getting a rushing touchdown. And in a game that could decide the top 10 of the draft, although Philadelphia going, whenever they saw that win. So, lowering the value of that pick again, Miami's going to get Carolina next week. Robert Saleh, went for it on fourth down early. You saw Joe Flacco hit Jamison Crowder. And the other thing we saw, whether it's Josh Johnson, Joe Flacco, Mike White, everybody but one, Zach Wilson, can bring value to this pass offense. And especially with Elijah Moore. Isn't it interesting, Cecil, that as soon as Zach Wilson is out, all of a sudden Elijah Moore looks like Rookie of the Year. Just right away. And for fantasy, I don't think we're going to get a lot more. And I didn't say to put more in a lot of questions today just because, it's Flacco. Miami just really harassed Lamar Jackson last week, although Flacco has had success against them over the years. So Elijah Moore, yeah, you're going to put him in. And by the way, next week against Houston, another a game that could decide the top 5 of the draft. You also saw Michael Carter looking good before he got banged up, I think an ankle. So we'll see. Maybe Ty Johnson will have some value. Maybe we'll talk about him on the waiver wire show. And there you go. Yeah, so Jets in Miami, it may be just slightly more exciting than the Jets in Houston.
What's the matter with the Saints? How many times have I asked that this year?
Every
week. I can't tell. Chef Boyardee. 40-29, and it's really not that close. It was 22 points in the fourth quarter, right? And Trevor Siemian, I mean, is that Doc Ellis? That's your Doc Ellis shirt? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're asking. Go ahead.
Yeah,
try not to distract you.
Just stand up. I thought you were taking your shirt off. I was like, it's that kind of show, huh?
Show them your doc.
It may be, yeah. So here we go with the Saints, and Trevor Siemian will do enough. He's like ramen noodles, right? He'll do enough, and if you put enough salsa on it or throw it in with some tater tots, you're like, that's not bad. Don't fool yourself. It's not good for you. It's not bad. It's not great. All these sorts of things. That's Trevor Siemian in a nutshell, man.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns, 2 INTs, but again, garbage time. Okay, garbage time matters for fantasy, so let's run through the numbers. Rushing touchdown for Siemian, 3 passing touchdown for Siemian. Mark Ingram with 88 yards in this one. No Alvin Kamara. We knew about that. Traquan Smith, 5 for 64. Adam Troutman, 5 for 58 and a touch. Marquez Callaway, 1 for 26. And then little Jordan Humphrey, he's not little at all, 1 receiving touchdown there as well. So some garbage time for the Saints, but when the game's at hand, I mean, we'll talk about their defense. They can stop Philadelphia at all. But, man alive, problemas in the Big Easy.
Yeah, what we have in Trevor Siemian is the classic garbage time. Oh, when the game is out of hand and lost, then you'll see something from Trevor Siemian.
Blake Bortles, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know when we're going to see Taysom Hill start. Maybe he's just too banged up. I mean, it was just coming right out of the gate, punt, interception, punt. The only thing that was working was Mark Ingram. And then, yes, you saw Troutman get a touchdown. You saw Marcus Callaway get a touchdown. But Siemian wasn't very good. The Saints weren't very good. And this team has to play at home on Thanksgiving against a Buffalo team that, the last time Buffalo, well, it wasn't that long ago when they got beaten by Jacksonville, they came right out and they boat raced the Jets. And the Saints got boat raced today by an Eagles team that had an identity, Cease. And I asked the question in the week leading up to this. They have an identity now. They run the ball. But the Saints were the number 1 rush defense in the league. Well, I think that everybody had it turning out like this.
See, you should have not a chest tattoo like Matthew says,
No.
where you rip off your shirt and it says "Sorry, Joe." It should be like how Tupac had the one over his stomach that said "Thug Life."
Right.
Just like "Sorry, Joe" in Old English.
Right. And the more I eat, the more letters I can add.
Welcome to Jamaica. Have a nice day. There's a "Sorry, Joe" in there for that one if you know the joke. Jalen Hurts. 147 yards passing, 3 rushing touchdowns. Trying to do his best Jonathan Taylor impression here. 3 rushing touchdowns, 18 for 69 on the ground, 16 for 94 for Miles Sanders. He's back. Jordan Howard, 10 for 63. And then once again, 50 carries, 242 yards.
Yeah. Well,
you cannot stop Philadelphia. What the Saints? What were they? Top 5 rushing
number
defense?
1.
Number 1. Okay, number 1. They were number 1, and Philadelphia's like, we don't care. And so they're winning with Jalen Hurts doing that and then running the ball and Jordan Howard helping to close out games with Sanders back. Not much for Boston Scott. A couple catches, whatever. Not much for the receivers because Hurts isn't doing anything through the air. So your Dallas Goedert, 5 for 62. Okay. Devontae Smith, 4 for 61. Okay. That's okay enough. But my God, running roughshod,
Yeah.
making our very own Jason Wood very happy.
Yeah, and this team season isn't over either, right? I mean, there is something about this season that you can really just kind of slough a month or more of the season figuring yourself out. But if you can actually figure yourself out, it's not too late. It's not too late with this Eagles team. And see how the conversation changes. 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Well, it doesn't look like Hurts is the answer, right? I mean, they've got 3 first-round picks next year, assuming Carson Wentz continues to play. And we're getting closer and closer, by the way, to Carson Wentz just hitting that threshold. It won't even matter if he gets hurt. So you're looking at this team potentially carrying 3 first-round picks into next year. And, okay, maybe there's not a quarterback, but they obviously have the ammo to decide what direction they want to go. Now, with this run-first offense, maybe they do have their quarterback. Or certainly you look at those 3 first-round picks next year and they can focus. What do the Eagles usually do in the Andy Reid era anyway? Always the line. And it's kind of carried over with Howie Roseman. Always the line. Offensive and defensive line. And that's actually where this upcoming draft is probably going to be strong. Build around Jalen Hurts. I think we're there. I think we are officially to the build around Jalen Hurts because we're building around the run. And some of that is putting a lot of Miles Sanders in. So this is Miles Sanders coming back to a team. See, Miles Sanders gets hurt on a team that doesn't even know how to use him. And he comes back on a team that all they want to do is just run the ball. Right? And he runs the ball pretty well until he fumbles. And this is the other situation today with Antonio Gibson. And again, Sanders has had his fumble problems. Enter Jordan Howard, who still looks great, even with his no-nonsense downhill style against the Saints front that was hard to move. Then Howard gets hurt. Sanders comes back in. When they're both healthy, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't shock me, Cease, if Howard is the most valuable Eagles running back down the stretch. But Sanders showed that he could be valuable too. Hurts, in this one, he gobbled up, gobble, 3 of those touchdowns on the ground to have a massive fantasy day, even though he didn't do much as a passer. It was there for Dallas Goedert, although it was a Devontae Smith offensive pass interference that nullified his touchdown. Smith did all right. But the Saints just didn't keep it a game long enough for Smith to do more. So you're still looking at Goddard and Smith in your lineup, even though this is a run-first team. You had a Darius Slay pick 6, by the way. That's his 3rd touchdown of the year. I mean, the Eagles' defense, yeah. Going to face the Giants. They've got a quarterback, Cease. They've got an identity. They've got some talented players. And they've got momentum. And that's really all you can ask for in the 2021 NFL.
That's all you can ask for. What if you're Houston? Back to my first conversation or my original conversation about Vegas, because we got to talk about this Houston game. Houston and Tennessee, 22-13. Are you kidding me? Ryan Tannehill with 4 picks. We're going to do it all at once, Bloom.
Yeah.
Des Fitzpatrick with a touchdown. How many? He's got more touchdowns, or he's been cut more times than he has touchdowns. But, I mean, Tyrod with a couple of rushing touchdowns. I mean, that you go through the numbers, and other than Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 7 for 107 in this one, and A.J. Brown, 5 for 48. Okay, it's all right. But the 4 picks from Ryan Tannehill, just a terrible day. You look at the comments after the game, people are like pretty upset about this, Mike Vrabel and company. But Texans, Titans, just keep that in mind. Bloom, let's talk about this 22-13 Texans win. You're the suicide pools, right? Where you pick the team.
Right. Survivor.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Survivor pools. You ain't surviving this one.
No, although I think that the Titans come into this game as the number 1 seed in the AFC and leave the game as the number 1 seed in the AFC. Yes, you've lost to the Jets and the Texans, and who play next week, and you're still the number 1 seed in the AFC. That is where we stand. Again, who can get hot for about a month in the playoffs? Tyrod Taylor played better in this one, made some crucial throws, made some very courageous plays in the red zone to score, was a good fantasy quarterback. So now he's back on our radar after he was so terrible the last time we saw him that we swore off playing him. And that's it, right? Rex Burkhead, 18 for 40. You know, the offense wasn't there. They capitalized on Tennessee mistakes. Cease, can you go back in time with me to 2002? Do you remember, was it 24-6? When they had 3 first downs. The Texans had 3 first downs, and they beat the Steelers 24-6 in Pittsburgh. Now, those were 3 defensive touchdowns, so it wasn't quite that bad, but you had Chester Rogers having a punt hit off of his back of his leg, giving them the ball in the red zone. You had Ryan Tannehill driving and Camus Grugier-Hill almost doing a pick 6, like a red zone interception back inside the 5. That's how this game happened. So it was very much an echo of that game. Also, it was played in the rain. A.J. Brown got dinged a couple of times in this game, a hand injury, a chest injury, came back in, but he wasn't quite himself. So Marcus Johnson, remember the speed, adding that element, he gets hurt. He leaves with a hamstring injury. Like you said, with Westbrook Akina, it's Chester Rogers. It's Dontrell Hilliard, actually. So your Dante Foreman and Adrian Peterson plays. Actually, the most valuable running back was Dontrell Hilliard, who got hurt and fumbled after his pretty solid game as part of a three-headed backfield. Tannehill, like you mentioned, the 4 interceptions. I mean, at least he was going down swinging. But you can see, Cease, this was a team, we looked at their depth chart at wide receiver before the season. Well, it's a Derrick Henry team, you know. But now that they don't have Derrick Henry, and what little, remember, Josh Reynolds basically asked out. Isn't that funny that Josh Reynolds asked out, and now he would probably be potentially the number 1 receiver or 1.5 if A.J. Brown can stay on the field? But there's still a team that's set to go to the playoffs. Now, what's interesting, Cease, is if you said, well, who's coming up on the outside to maybe take over that number 1 seed? Who are they playing next week? The New England Patriots.
Just when you thought he was out.
Yeah.
Something pulls him back in. Who could be on the outside coming in? Bengals? Bengals and Raiders. 32-13 is the final score. Bloom, another one we can do both sides on. Basically, because outside of Darren Waller, who had 7 for 116, I mean, you may have started Hunter Renfrow at 4 for 30. Josh Jacobs didn't do anything on the ground. Derek Carr didn't do anything. 1 touchdown, 1 INT. This was all about Joe Mixon. More Joe Mixon. And when you're done with that, how about some more Joe Mixon? 30 for 123 and 2 rushing touchdowns. That Bengals defense swarming, getting after Derek Carr. Only sacked a couple of times, but it looked like he was under pressure all day. Tyler Boyd, 6 for 49 in this one. Jamar Chase, 3 for 32, and that touchdown. Oh, so pretty. It's pretty when you watch Jamar Chase play. So not monster numbers from anyone other than Mixon and Waller. 2 players you started. Other players you may have, not as much.
And it maybe is affecting your Bengals decisions going forward. Look, the headline here is the Bengals, after 2 really disappointing losses going into their bye, come out and play really well. Well, as a team, they play really well. Joe Burrow did not play well in this one, but it didn't matter. And that's really the encouraging thing. And are the Raiders a good team? I mean, they're not a terrible team. They also seem like a team that has lost their nerve after everything they've endured this year. But you did see Joe Mixon basically put the offense in the hands of Mixon. He can handle that coming out of the bye, feeling strong, and not quite Jonathan Taylor, Cease. But at some point, Dwayne McFarland was on the couch and talked about touchdown luck, that Mixon wasn't getting those long down and distance snaps. Samaje Perine was getting those, so there was some potential variance at play. But I think Mixon is showing, no, it's not really touchdown luck. It's that the team trusts him, and he's ready to rise to the occasion of deserving and earning that trust. And then it throws into question, I mean, Tyler Boyd, probably he'll go back to catching a ball or 2 next week. T. Higgins, we were wondering if we're going to start him. Jamar Chase, yes, we're going to start him, but are the big plays going to come? Because that was what was fueling Joe Burrow earlier. CJ Uzoma falling out of favor as a streamer. So maybe it becomes a more focused offense to become a more successful team, but at the expense of the passing game numbers. Now, on the Raiders side, it's just a team that is, they just are not rising to the level of precision, execution, intensity that they've had earlier in the year. You did see Darren Waller do some stuff. Basically, though, this is what happened for the Raiders offense today, okay? They got the ball off of a fumble at the 6-yard line and got a field goal. They had a 32-yard field goal drive, and there was one drive where there were 2 long passes to Waller and 1 to Foster Moreau, who's going to be a player. Don't forget about Foster Moreau. And that was it. That was the whole of the offense. Josh Jacobs caught some short passes so that he wasn't a total waste in PPR leagues. Hunter Renfrow didn't hit the levels he's been hitting. And you're asking yourself, what are we going to get out of this offense? We're going to get to watch it on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. I don't know, Cease, man. Maybe we'll skip football this Thanksgiving. I know that's sacrilege, but not loving these matchups.
Yeah, let's just rewatch the Steelers game we're missing on Thanksgiving. Could be. Or could just watch the Audible, right?
Yeah.
Since we'll have our Thanksgiving preview games up on whatever day. When's it? Next week is always interesting. Next week's work schedule is more interesting than our next game. because this was supposed to be better. You were supposed to be a contender. 19-9, Kansas City and Dallas. Now the Chiefs trying to prove that last week's win was no fluke. Well, did you? I mean, kind of. Travis Kelce and a Wildcat touchdown, and then Travis Kelce 5 for 74 as a receiver. Tyreek Hill, especially early, 9 for 77. I thought he might have twice that many yards with the way that he started out this game. Stop trying to make McCole Hardman a thing. Down at the 1. 2 for 25. Okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back. Darrell Williams helps him close out the game. Edwards-Helaire with 63 yards and a rushing touchdown. Mahomes, no touchdowns and an INT. And then the Dak Prescott thing, couple of picks, kept turning the ball over. Ezekiel Elliott, what was that, his ankle he got fell on?
Yeah.
Just didn't look the same out there. Tony Pollard, 7 for 50 on the ground. Zeke with 32 yards on 9 carries. Dalton Schultz, because no Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb a little bit banged up. Michael Gallup, 5 for 44. Schultz, 6 for 53 in this one. Zeke did get 6 catches for 36 yards. So again, very rarely, this is the type of game you and I would normally spend, 20 minutes on during a recap. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic, at least 10 minutes. Most of these games are around 5. But this one I'm just going to throw to you at the same time because it's like, it was supposed to be great. Minnesota Green Bay was great. And you're like, woo, look, I got some dessert coming up. With that Cowboys Chiefs game. And then it was like, no, it was when you bite in and it's like the low fat pie or something.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait, this doesn't, this is
Angel
low fat
food cake.
Right. Something.
Yeah. Angel food cake with meringue. Sorry if you like meringue out there, folks. Just light and not much to it. Let's sift through a lot of stuff here. Steve Spagnuolo's defense, I think tactically, and see, this is an underrated part of why it's such a week-to-week league. It's how coaches match up with other coaches. Sometimes what we're watching play out, it seems like it's about the players, but it's really about the coaches. It's about the coaches identifying something that they can exploit that maybe won't work the next week against a different team that on paper is a lesser team, right? The Jets and Joe Flacco are lesser than Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, but what worked against Baltimore didn't work as well against the Jets today. So Steve Spagnuolo, as the Cowboys, lots of blitzing. So here's what works, Cease. You blitz early and it works. Then you fake the blitz. And you make Dak Prescott audible into these screen passes and these things that don't go anywhere because you basically have the opposing offense in the palm of your hand. Also because CeeDee Lamb goes out with a concussion in this one. Amari Cooper out with coof. Ezekiel Elliott, Cease, like you said, not really looking like himself after he got banged up. Maybe we could see more of a 50-50 backfield going forward because it is Tony Pollard who's got juice in this one. But you didn't see anything from Michael Gallup. You didn't see much from Cedric Wilson. Dalton Schultz did okay, but again, he's more of a struggle target. Dallas plays Vegas on Thanksgiving to try to get things righted. But I see another difference here is one of these teams have had success in the playoffs. One of these teams win ugly or figure out a way against other good teams, and that's Kansas City. And that's why they're a dangerous team. If they can just get into the playoffs and they can play spoiler, well, now you've really got this team started. The offense is still the same dink and dunk offense, okay? But it's there. It's there for Hill. It's there for Kelce. It was there for Edwards-Helaire, who was pretty decisively ahead of Darrell Williams early in the game and looking pretty good. So Darrell Williams is falling back now to that complimentary role, not even really a committee role. And also, by the way, after he lit up the Raiders, we're back to asking, are we going to play Patrick Mahomes? Well, next week it's the bye, so we can think about it some more, but I don't exactly feel comfortable or on solid ground. While I'm talking about the Kansas City offense, I'd want to mention Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, the first rookie, the only rookie to have 40 or more tackles and 8 or more sacks, other than Cease, your old friend Von Miller. So when you're mentioned with Von Miller, then you're doing some good things. So Micah Parsons, that pick worked out. That's working out. But this game didn't work out for Dallas. And I think this is kind of a playoff simulation game. Okay, Dallas is probably going to make the playoffs. They probably are one of the better teams in the NFC. But how are they going to be able to hang when the screws get tighter? It did not go well for Dak. Dak doesn't have a signature playoff win. Dak doesn't have a signature playoff run. And this game doesn't make you feel great about this Cowboys team's ability to counterpunch when the other team gets the drop on them out of the gate. So again, questions. And see, in some ways, again, Pete Rozelle smiling as we're going to go into Thanksgiving feeling like any one of 12 or 15 teams winning the Super Bowl.
Did Chris Jones know which way to go when he picked up that fumble, right? It's like, hey, that way. I understand big man trying to make a play, but trying to make a play, little man trying to make a play. Colt McCoy, is that okay? Yeah, all right there, Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals over the Seattle Seahawks, 23-13, and it actually seemed like a larger deficit, and just watching this game. Now, we did see something very rare, Bloom. We saw James Conner get a run inside the 5. Which one is that? Which cat is that?
Judy. That's the urban legend.
Judy?
She shows up now during the show all the time, I think because I talk with my hands.
Right.
All she sees are my hands, and she thinks
she's
that
like,
she
"What are you
jumps up
doing?"
and she's like, why don't you pet me with those hands instead of doing whatever else you're doing? Because that's why we exist, to pet her. We talked about this at length on the Thursday night show.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And then cats are like, now leave me alone for 3 days. That's awesome. 23-13, but didn't it seem like Arizona was kicking the hell out of them?
Yeah,
like
they did against San Francisco. So it's just divisional games, like they're going to get up for the divisional games.
Just common opponent, and you know them well. We saw something rare, though. James Conner got a carry inside the 5 and didn't actually score.
Right.
He did score later, 21 for 62 and a rushing touchdown. Zach Ertz with a couple of touchdowns, and then including a pass interference to seal this thing. 8 for 88 and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Green, 4 for 78. And no DeAndre Hopkins, of course. Rondale Moore, not quite Elijah Moore levels, but 11 for 51. And you see the quickness, sickness with the quickness. You see the explosive ability. So Colt McCoy and another game, and Kyler will be back. Don't they have a bye in week 12?
Yes.
Okay. So Kyler will be back. Colt McCoy has made himself some money and led the team to a win today.
Yeah. A 300-yard game. First one in 7 years for Colt McCoy. And see, there's some sort of code going on here. These two very weird weeks, week 9 and week 11, are the 2 weeks that Colt McCoy was arguably, Aaron Rodgers was pretty good today, but he was one of the best quarterbacks on the field. Okay? He was better than Dak Prescott. He was better than Patrick Mahomes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He was running this offense really well without DeAndre Hopkins, just like he did against San Francisco. Efficient, and you saw Ertz used well, and you saw the play calling, the play calls, the play designs, the patience. One of the touchdowns was a shovel pass to Ertz that worked to perfection. Another touchdown was one where Colt McCoy dropped the snap, but I think it was a play action pass, so the timing wasn't really that interrupted, and he just keeps his head about him. And I guess that's a good thing, Cease, about having what year are we now with McCoy in the NFL? 11, 12, right? I mean, he followed up Vince Young at UT, played for a national championship against Alabama, So he's been around for a long time, and there's something to that. Hey, Cleveland, you have one of those guys too, by the way. So there's something to this experience. And like you said, Rondale Moore came through. The only guy who didn't come through was Christian Kirk. You saw A.J. Green catch a few passes downfield, and James Conner. And putting fantasy and all that stuff aside, Cease, I'm loving seeing the role he's playing for this team. That he really is the brass knuckles, and he relishes it. He's playing that way, but he's patient. The footwork is there. The vision is there. The patience is there. And you can see he's got a little more in his tank because of the way he was used in the first half of the year. So he's able to be that feature back. And guess what? Now he gets to rest. So if there is a team that comes out smelling like a rose, just like 2 weeks ago, it is Arizona. And it's a team, Cease, that I think knows we can win in a lot of different ways. We can count on different parts of our team to pick us up, depending on how things are going, including our backup quarterback, including our committee running back, including somebody like Marcus Golden, who's coming back to the team after he originally broke out with them. So it's Seattle, and we talked about this season. Seattle now finds themselves at a place they've never found themselves during the Carroll Wilson era. And it's bad. And there's not really much to rally around. There's not a fire to warm yourself around if you're the Seattle Seahawks right now.
Yeah, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you're just like, can it just be over?
What's next? Yeah, what's next?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, next.
And that's it. And some of the problem is the defense, by the way. It's an interlocking problem because the defense is giving up these 9-minute drives, 6-7-minute drives. Russell Wilson, back to where Patrick Mahomes was earlier this year, trying to do it all, and he can't, getting sacked. Tyler Lockett had a few DJ Dallas looked pretty good on his drive, getting a touchdown, much to the chagrin of Alex Collins' fantasy teams.
Rashad
And there
Penny
you
did
have it.
something. Did he get hurt too?
Right, I know. So, you know, and this is a team, by the way, that gave away that first round pick for Jamal Adams. So another team, we're looking at the Jets. They're winners even on a day that they're losers. That is the NFL in 2021.
You're never a loser when you listen to the Audible. Some segues are better than others. Either way, we really appreciate everyone out there. If you appreciate us, first off, thank you. Make sure to spread that love by doing those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And, of course, check out footballguys.com. First off, free daily newsletter. You can sign up. News articles written by me, Sigmund, and Joe Bryant. Hell of a trio. And then if you want to support the show because you love the show so much, get a footballguys.com subscription. A cheap price, an annual price, and we give you tens of thousands of pages of content for you to enjoy during the fantasy football season. It's the best way and the way to support this show. We appreciate each and everyone out there. I thought Sig was wearing a headband too for the chat room. Got to run, get my daughter for Thanksgiving break from college. So good to see Katarina home. And peace and love to everyone out there. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. And if you're going to do that, Bloom, then we got to get the Keanu kiss.
He's Keanu.
And he's Keanu. Follow him. Well, just buy Berserker, his comic. It's very good. Very violent, but very good. Anyway, stay tuned and stay frosty.